Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for October 29th, 2025. Well, my goodness, we have a big day ahead of us in the market with huge, unbelievable, in fact, I would say hyper anticipation of the data coming our way over the next couple of days. So let's take a look at what happened overnight. If we take a look at Asian markets were just a little bit mixed last night. No major moves except in the Nikkei that zoomed after the president's visit over there really raising hopes of good relationships there. And the Nikkei zoomed up 1,088.47 points, or 2.17% overnight. We saw South Korea up $70.74, or 1.76% higher. We had India up 117.70, or 0.45% higher. Shanghai was up 2801, 0.70% higher, while Australia was down 86.30, or 0.96% lower, and Hong Kong lower by 87.56, or 0.33% lower. If we take a look at European markets this morning, Europe was kind of muted yesterday, and we're still staying relatively muted this morning. We have the DAX up $20.02 at 0.09% higher. FTSE is at 4602, or 0.47% higher, and the CAC is up $2.49, or 0.03% higher here this morning. If we take a look at U.S. futures, we've got a little bit of a mix in the U.S. futures this morning, but, well, wait a second, that has changed here in just the last few moments in the pre-market. When I first looked at the market this morning, Dow futures were down about 120 points, now up 31 points on the morning. So Dow futures up 31 points. We've got S&P 500 futures up $14.50, and NASDAQ futures up 96 points this morning, trying to stretch on higher and likely setting new record highs at the open for the fourth straight day in a row. Let's take a look at what we've got going on in bonds this morning. Bonds are moving up just slightly here today. Nothing in a big move up, but we've got the 2-year bonds back up there at $3.50, or $3.50%. We've got 10-year bonds at 3.99%, and we've got the 30-year bonds at 4.55% this morning. If we take a look at the dollar, our dollar is a little bit higher today. We're trying to hold on to this upside trend, hold on to that support, trying to get a little bit of bullishness in there to see if that can push on through and retest these highs up here. So watch that closely here. Right now, dollar futures are up 16 cents on the day. Watch that pretty closely. If we take a look at what's happening in the precious metals, well, yesterday we had a big move down in gold, but it started to reverse and bounce back up, and we're seeing this morning Gold up $54 an ounce here this morning, $4,037.40 an ounce. So keep an eye on that. We might be trying to recover, maybe trying to hold a little bit of price support right in here. Watch that carefully, though, as it approaches that next resistance and, of course, that trend break here in the chart. If we take a look at silver this morning, silver also rebounded yesterday and is following through here today to the upside, currently up 95 cents an ounce at 48.27 an ounce. Once again, keep an eye on this as we approach this resistance right here in that chart. Copper also rebounded back yesterday after gapping down and is moving higher still this morning, up 4 cents an ounce at the moment. Platinum is up $26.80 an ounce, trying to follow through there. This may well prove to be a little bit of a lower high, so watch that carefully here in platinum. And then palladium is up $28 an ounce here this morning, trying to hold on to support and trend. So keep an eye on those. Now, on the other hand, crypto's having a little bit of a rough day, but there's a bit of a mix in here. We've got Bitcoin. I'll get this symbol right. There we go. We've got Bitcoin this morning down 736.18 a coin, 0.65%. Ether is lower here this morning by 54.63 a coin, or 1.35%. Solana is the outlier here, holding on to 29 cents to the green side, or 0.15% higher this morning. Let's take a look at what's going on in oil. Had kind of a rough day in oil yesterday as OPEC said that they were going to increase their output. We have oil futures this morning, though, trying to move back up just a little bit. Right now, we're up 10 cents at $60.25 a barrel. Brent crude is $64.59 a barrel, and we've got natural gas continuing to fall here today, down 11.5 cents here at the moment. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in, let's buckle up, and let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here today. I very much appreciate it. Well, Wednesday, hump day, is going to be a very, very busy day here in the market. So first off, let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these charts for what they are, not for what we want them to be, and we want to shake off that bias and just look closely at the details. Well, first off, when you look at the diamonds here, all you see is bullish trend, and wildly bullish trend. You'll notice that every day this week we have left gaps behind, pushing us back to the upside here in the chart. This morning, we'll want to watch this pretty closely, but new record highs could be set here this morning at the open. As you can see, we're pushing higher than yesterday's close. New record highs setting at the open, and every reason to believe that we could push on through, break out up here, and just see blue sky above. Certainly a possibility in the charts, because we have got a massive amount of enthusiasm here in the market. On the other hand, if we were to happen to stumble in any way, and I wrote about this in one of the social media posts today, that we have priced, right now the Buffett indicator is at 225%. At 225%, that is the highest we have ever seen in history in valuations of the market. Now, that being said, can we continue to go higher? Sure. If we can get really strong earnings from these mega tech giants after the bell today, I do think there is a chance we could zoom higher after those reports. At the same time, just imagine if they struggle to produce enough earnings to support these high valuations that we have. I see that potential that the move lower, we could see a gaps Thursday morning that could be substantial if one of these or many of these companies struggle with all of the spending that they're doing to build out the infrastructure for AI, if they can produce enough income to support these prices. And that's going to be the question for today. It's possible that what we're seeing right now is we buy the rumor, and then the other half of that is sell the news. So I don't know that that's going to be the case, but one of the things I would caution everyone on is just remembering that we're leaving some very big gaps behind here in the market. And if we do happen to stumble, the downside in this market could be a substantial move. So prepare for that. Have a plan to protect yourself. I don't know that these companies may just produce blowout earnings today, but we are perfectly set up for that situation where the market could end up being very disappointed if those numbers aren't stellar. So watch that closely here for this afternoon. Let's take a look at our SPY. Very similar situation, leaving lots of gaps behind. New record highs here at the open this morning with tremendous enthusiasm. So if we can keep that going, well, it's just blue sky above here in the market, and every reason to believe that that's possible. Yet at the same time, if we happen to stumble in any way, shape, or form, this is quite an extension, and we couldn't rule out that possibility of that sell the news event if some of these mega caps stumble here in the market. So watch that closely. We have been seeing breadth declining, and I'll show you that here in just a bit. We had fewer stocks moving up yesterday than going down, and it was really the megatechs that were keeping our indexes extremely bullish and setting these records, when the majority of stocks were not celebrating the way the handful of megatechs were really having a good party. So watch that carefully. If we do start to come down, look for the potential of some very big moves in price action if they happen to stumble. So watch that closely. We've got some really big gaps in here, and you could see a good push to the downside if one of these companies were happen to disappoint. So watch that carefully. But otherwise, stay with the upside trend. There's nothing in here that says bearishness yet. Just that hint of maybe an overbought situation, and boy, we're going to have to produce some stellar earnings. If we take a look at our QQQ, very much the same thing. Blue sky above. We've got new record highs here at the open. It's just that big question, what if in here that we have a situation where the market stumbles. So watch that carefully. The pullback could be substantial in the Qs if that were to occur. IWM, that doesn't benefit from having those megatechs in the market, it actually pulled back yesterday, but we're still holding in this upside trend. So if the bulls can find inspiration here today, I see every reason to believe we could start pushing this back up and maybe even break on through to new record highs on the day. If the bears were to have anything to say, we still have a gap in here that could be filled to the downside. Come back in here, test the support, and that would be a good solid test of this upside trend. I think we'd only raise a little bit of concern if that were to fail. If we take a look at our VIX, well, as we were rallying yesterday and really running to the upside, we actually had more stocks selling than going up, and the VIX responded to the upside in here. Maybe just a little concern about these valuations, but watch that carefully. If the bulls can find this inspiration this morning, and they're pumping first thing here today, they can find that inspiration in earnings. I see every reason to believe that we could reverse this and push this right on back down down into areas down in here that we've experienced recently here in the chart. If, however, we were to get some kind of stumble here, and it would be this afternoon after the bell today that we could get that stumble, then watch for that possibility Thursday morning. If those bears were to come in, it could spike in here pretty quickly, so watch that close. If we take a look at our T2122, what I was talking about more stocks selling than moving up, as we set new record highs with NVIDIA and Microsoft and the megatechs lifting the entire market on their own, well, we saw the T2122 indicator actually decline. We fell below 50% here by the close. I'm guessing with the gap up that we're looking this morning, that will recover very quickly. But keep that in mind. We've got about an equal weight in here for those bulls and bears today. And even though this hyper intensity into tech keeps our indexes moving up, well, you can see the market overall is struggling with a little bit of this valuation problem. So keep a close eye on that. Our T2108 declined yesterday, pulling back as we set new record highs in the market. Percentage of stocks holding above the 40-day declined, pushing back. We gave up this 40% in here. We've got good support down in here around 35%. If the bulls can find that inspiration, maybe we can pop this right back up through and get through this high up here. Certainly a possibility with all the data coming at us today. And T2107, same thing. We saw selling in there yesterday, more stocks pulling back from below their 200-day moving average than going up. You can see that we still holding on to that 50% area, so no real critical problem here. And if the bulls can find that inspiration, I think we could push this right back up. So watch that carefully here. Our T2101 is one of the things that was a concern for me. T2101, the absolute breadth of the market declined yesterday as we were setting new record highs because the vast majority of the stocks out there were not moving up. It was just those megatech giants that were able to lift us all on their own to the upside. So we're not getting a true picture of the overall market. Now, just imagine if those megatech giants stumble. What could occur in the market? Just be prepared for that possibility in case it were to come to pass. You always want to be prepared. And if there's anything to learn from Warren Buffett right now has $334 billion in cash sitting on the sidelines. Now, that's the biggest cash hoard his company has ever had. There may be a lesson in that he sees this hyperbolic move in the market and is suggesting there's no value here, to be very careful. $334 billion sitting in treasuries, short-term treasuries, is a remarkable thing. So just kind of think about that just a little bit. The most successful investor in the world is suggesting, hey, maybe we're getting close to that inflection point here in the market. Can't say that that's true, and I don't think he knows that that's true either, but be prepared for that possibility. Let's take a look at what we have going on in our economic calendar here for today. We've got a couple things to be paying attention to. First off, we're going to get those mortgage applications coming in. Last time they were just a little bit weak, but they improved week over week. And so with those bonds having eased up, we might see that improve today. That would be bullish for the market. International trading goods, we're looking for a negative 90 billion, just a little bit of decline from that 85.5. This is still very much improved over last year in here, but watch that closely. Could move the market. We have a retail inventories number that will be coming out. Last time that was flat. there's no consensus on that, so keep an eye on that. Wholesale, we do have a consensus. We were a -2 last time. They're suggesting that stays flat at -2. Keep an eye on that this morning. Pending home sales, we're looking at pending home sales declining. The prior was a 4.0 in there, and they're suggesting it would decline to just 1.0. Watch that closely. I do question that because I wonder if the declining rates would actually make that improve. So keep an eye on that pending home sales here number today. We've got petroleum status. That will be coming up, and then we've got a 4-month and a 2-year bond auction. And then after that, we're going to get that FOMC announcement at 2 p.m. Eastern. At 2:30, we get the Fed's press conference. So I would expect some volatility around this. Almost 100% chance in Fed funds futures that we're going to get a rate cut today, but there is some question out there amongst the members whether they're going to be able to continue that process here. So the market has already priced in a couple of rate cuts yet this year, so watch that carefully. If they happen to disappoint there, that's where that volatility could come in this afternoon. So be prepared for that, and that volatility will continue right in through the earnings reports here this afternoon. So let's take a look at earnings reports. We have a big list today. There's no way I can cover all of these. So if you could pause the video, take a screenshot of this, that would be the best thing for you, so that you can go through them at your leisure. If you take a look right here, the big notables here this afternoon, we're going to get Google and Alphabet reporting, Microsoft and Meta here this afternoon. So expect some big moves possible in the market, where we could see big gap ups in the morning. We could see big gap downs if those companies happen to disappoint. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube, and also click that bell icon when it pops up, so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does support the channel. I truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that may be setting up. Remember, everyone, we're going to have to be kind of careful and be really paying attention to earnings reports, because a lot of shifting around happens around those reports. So make sure you're focused in carefully, and just really stay focused if you're planning to trade today, because of the intense volatility that we could see. First off, take a look at Path in here. Path, really nice little resting pullback coming into that chart. Now, we do have a little bit of concern because that is a lower high, but we're still holding this upside trend. So what I would suggest in here is, if this can hold some support and just rest in here just a little bit, then I'd look for that next opportunity for that to stretch on higher. So keep an eye on Path. This INDA, India, has been really picking up here. So if you want to pick up some foreign activity in here, a nice little break through this resistance. Notice this is one of those gappy indexes because you're trading a foreign index, but watch that carefully here, trying to hold some bullishness in there, and I think that may just find its way on through to the upside. If we take a look at United States Oil Fund in here, U.S. oil is in a very interesting situation where we have a double top. We have a potential of a lower high, yet at the same time, this big rally back up puts us in that potential that we can hold a higher low. Watch this carefully. We're trying to figure out direction in here on oil. Keep a close eye on that. That may be something to that could produce some pretty good returns if we can finally figure out that direction. Take a look at coals. Coals in here is pushing back up to retest this resistance in the chart, but I gotta tell you, I would be watching coals at this moment for that potential short. We're starting to show that resistance here in the chart. It's pretty strong. So watch carefully if that were to slip and start moving lower. Yesterday, United Health had a good earnings report. We popped and dropped on that earnings report, so still holding in here on a really nice area of price support. If that can just hold in here, look for that opportunity. That could push on up, at least to move up enough to test that 200-day moving average, I think is a possibility. So keep an eye on UNH. ExxonMobil is another one we should be paying attention to, particularly in that oil sector that's been so uncertain. But breaking through this little downtrend, pushing up here in this nice little resting consolidation in here could easily set up that opportunity. If we can get a little bit of bullishness going in that oil sector, we might see that just push right on higher here. Worth paying attention to. Estee Lauder has been a really nice bullish chart. Nice little consolidating zone in here. If we can get that bullish action coming into the market, I think there's every reason that could push on through to the upside. I'd keep a close eye on that one. Really like the way TTD is setting up here. Now this is coming up out of a bottom, and this is what we call a rounded bottom breakout pattern in here. And TTD, all we need is that little bit of bullish push in here. We might see that stretch on higher and break out. Worth paying attention to in that chart. Take a look at what's going on in solar. Solar continuing to show that bullishness in here. I would watch for solar here, popped up, just resting a little bit in here. Look for that next potential push to the upside in First Solar. And you really should be keeping an eye on some of these uranium plays. UUUU hasn't got involved in it yet. This might be one of those opportunities to catch something popping out here, because we saw some nice moves in URA, CCJ yesterday. Woo, big popper to the upside. Not going to report earnings until first part of next month, but really looking good in here. The UEC that I'm holding, that had a nice little pop back up in here, so keep an eye on some of that uranium in here. We heard about Google renovating an old nuclear facility to start supplying power for all their data centers. So keep a close eye on that. That's the wave of the future, and I don't think that's going to change here anytime soon with the massive build out that's going on around the country. I think it would also be a pretty good idea to be keeping an eye on some of these steel stocks. Steel is obviously one of those things that we need a lot of if we're going to build all of this infrastructure around the country. Big, strong move there on earnings in Nucor, pushing up here to this resistance. Any rest or pullback in here now, I think, sets up that opportunity to maybe get in that trade on Nucor. Watch that closely. Steel Dynamics also showing tremendous strength here. Wait for a little rest, a little bit of pullback in that chart, and I think there may be some opportunities here breaking out up here. Just a little rest or pullback would set up that potential entry in Steel Dynamics. Cleveland Cliffs had a little bit of a strong sell-off here, so watch that carefully. It's trying to recover this area of price support. So if we can stretch back up through here, recover that support, and then prove to hold, I would look for that resumption of an upside trend if that can hold in here. So keep an eye on some of those steel stocks as well. Could be coming around in the charts. Keep an eye on these aerospace and defense stocks. General Dynamics, nice little break higher here, broke through resistance, little rest, little consolidation, coming back into some support. Look for that next opportunity here in General Dynamics. RTX, the same. Nice stretch here on earnings on RTX. Little rest, little consolidation. I would look for that to move up. You might want to be keeping an eye on Boeing here this morning. Boeing's going to report earnings. That's been trying to sneak through this big long downtrend here. If that can hold up here again, aerospace and defense, if we can hold up in here, we may just get that push right on through to the upside in Boeing. So keep an eye on that. So there's a few stocks for you to pay attention to today, a few things that may move around. I would be very, very cautious of meddling too much in these big tech giants right now because of the risk of the big potential moves. But you do you. Just make sure you plan your risk carefully. I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. I appreciate it. We'll see you right back here bright and early Thursday morning, and I wish you all the very best.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.